Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Some breaking news during official visit weekend for the Georgia Bulldogs as they flip four-star running back Chauncey Bowens from the Florida Gators. This is a really good guy, and you take a look at Chauncey Bowens. This is a Georgia running back. It makes so much sense. He goes 6 foot, 220 pounds, an absolute bruiser who also has sub 11 second 100-meter speed and some really good feet too. We'll dig into the film a little bit and also talk about what this Georgia class could be, continuing to track this 2024 class as it potentially could break records and how much talent they are bringing in this 2024 class. Kirby Smart has things absolutely rolling in Athens, Georgia. Before we get into it again, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support from Georgia fans especially. It's been a very fun last couple of weeks for Georgia Bulldogs fans. We followed their recruiting. You guys have been absolutely awesome. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate all the support you guys have shown. And without further ado, let's get into Chauncey Bowens first. And then more importantly, the bigger story is all the talent that they have on campus this weekend and what they'll have on campus the rest of the month of June. Because if you're a top 50 national dude in the country, you're visiting Athens, Georgia. You want to be a part of what is happening in Georgia. Chauncey Bowens, though, again, when you take a look at what does Georgia covet at the running back position, they like the bruisers. They like guys who can run the ball really, really hard. Chauncey Bowens certainly qualifies as that. And the two things that you look at, one, the size. 6 foot, 220 pounds. And you're telling me he runs a sub 11 second 100-meter dash. That is some wide receiver track times that Chauncey Bowens is bringing to the table. And then more importantly, you take a look at the film, some good feet as well. So he kind of checks all the boxes in what you're looking for with an elite caliber running back. And it always helps that you flip them from the rivals, the Florida Gators. But good feet, good change of direction. People aren't catching him when he gets open grass. And that's something that I think a lot of people like, and he's very downhill. And you look at what Georgia wants to do. It's actually so nuts. 220 pounds. Absolutely leaving people in the dust. I think he fits perfectly what Georgia wants to do. A downhill back, a one-cut guy that gets downhill, also can get it done out of the backfield as well. Pretty smooth catcher of the football, but man, that speed and the ability to just go run right through people, it's next level. And that's, I think, why Kirby Smart goes after him. You already have a running back in the fold in this 2024 class, but Kirby Smart, he ain't going to settle. He's just going to keep taking talent. That's their 18th commit in this class. You looking at it right now, the number one player in the country, Dylan Raiola, the number one cornerback in the country, and Ellis Robinson. Ellis Robinson, a guy that definitely on flip watch to the Miami Hurricanes, but when you're trying to flip a player from Georgia, that's going to be tough sledding, especially when it's on the defensive side of the ball. So Georgia, I feel pretty good about that. But you look at who they already have locked in this class, multiple top 50 national dudes. Jaden Riddell, the tight end that I'm extremely, extremely excited about. And then Dwight Phillips, another running back that's a little bit smaller, a little bit faster. Georgia has consistently used multiple running backs that have different skill sets, right? You look at Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton. Some different level guys are even going back to Zamir White and James Cook. Running backs that have different roles in different situations. And it looks like Kirby Smart is going to continue with that trend in the backfield. This is a Georgia team that wants to run the ball. It's seemingly going to have one of the best offensive line groups for the next 5 years with how they've recruited up front. But what's even more intriguing is what they already have in this class. It's the number one class in the country. They already have 18 commits. What they have on campus right now is probably the most exciting, right? You take a look at who they have on campus this weekend, June 9th. KJ Bolden, the number one safety prospect, a top 10 national dude out of the state of Georgia. Whenever you play defense at a high level and you play in the state of Georgia, Georgia's going to be the leader. It sounds like KJ Bolden's getting battles for Clemson and Georgia. Clemson just won one for Sammy Brown. It seems like, from what I'm hearing, KJ Bolden trending to Georgia. Another elite edge rusher in Edric Houston, also on campus from the state of Georgia. It seemingly is trending Georgia's way as well. An interesting one to follow, Mike Matthews. And we talk about this a lot. When you have the number one quarterback in the whole entire country committed in your class, it all of a sudden gets a lot easier to recruit the offensive side of the ball, right? Georgia, with Kirby Smart and how he's developed on the defense side of the ball, you're never going to have a problem trying to go get a guy like Edric Houston or KJ Bolden. That sells itself. You want to go get picked in the NFL draft and you play on the defense side of the ball, you come to Athens, Georgia. The offensive side of the ball, this is for Georgia terms, been a little bit tougher sledding recruiting offensive playmaking talent. But when you're able to land a guy like Dylan Raiola, who seemingly, from what I'm reading, is being the hardest recruiter for these playmakers on the offensive side of the ball, it gets a lot easier. Mike Matthews, another guy that is seemingly trending to Clemson. I wouldn't count Georgia out. He's an in-state kid there. But then you take a look at next weekend, Aiden Breland, another top defensive lineman. Georgia sells itself to that. What I'm kind of taking a look at are some of these playmakers, Zion Reagans, right, from the state of Georgia. Can Dylan Raiola get in his ear? And then you go to this next weekend again. Just it's so wild, the amount of playmaking and the amount of national talent that is going to be on campus in Athens during this month. A couple of guys that I would keep an eye on: Joseph Jonah, he's trending. Joseph Jonah Ajoyne from Texas, trending to Georgia, looking like they're going to beat out Oklahoma for that. Obviously, the offensive line, pretty easy. One guy I keep an eye on, Brandon Baker. It's been, from what I've listened to, a down year for offensive tackles in this 2024 class. Brandon Baker, the number one offensive tackle, has taken multiple different visits with Dylan Raiola. They checked out Nebraska together. These guys are pretty close, both West Coast kids. I certainly think Georgia's probably in the mix for that. But man, with already what they have in their class verbal commitments for 2024 and the amount of prospects that they still have available, it's getting freaky for what Georgia's going to do. And you look, back-to-back national champs, they're probably the favorite to win it again. What Kirby Smart is doing in Athens, Georgia is truly special. We're going to continue to follow this because I think it's going to be a busy next couple of weeks for Georgia on the recruiting trail as we roll into the fall. Again, appreciate you guys for checking the fellas out. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.